Oh, hi. How you doing? Hey, how are ya? Welcome to the Max Bang. My name is Max, and I like to drink coffee. The Max Bang is a 25 to 30 minute... Oh, wait, no. The Max Bang is a half-hour hangout. So grab a cup of coffee, take a seat, and how's your mother? If you're currently driving, keep your eyes on the road. If you're currently eating, please go ahead and write in the comments below what you are eating. And if you're on the treadmill, you got this, babe. First and foremost, please write down what you're eating in the comments. But also feel free to comment again. I feel like I saw a ton of comments last week that were just the food, what you were eating, which does tickle my pickle quite a bit. But I do, you can comment more than once. I guess I'll just say that. If you're on the treadmill, keep going. I do have to say this because last week I started this story and I realized I never finished it. So let me just fucking finish it. I was reminiscing about being on the old treadmill. What I was reminiscing about was wrestling in college. This is a whole blah, blah, blah. But we had winter practices, so we would have to be back on campus in January for practice. There's no students around. There's no one around except your team, which is great if you like your team. It wasn't great for me because I didn't really like the people on my team. They weren't my best friends. And anyway, part of practice was you'd essentially do 2-a-day practices, 3-a-day practices. But because we had all of the issues that come with wrestling, which is you have to not weigh anything at all, which is a whole nother can of worms. I think is the most fucked up part of the sport. It almost ruins the sport. But after practice, you end up having to essentially get your weight cutting practice in afterwards. So what that entails is you go through a full practice. It sucks. It's wrestling practice is clearly one of the hardest things, if not the hardest thing to do. Sorry, I'm just turning my phone off. My idiot friend Dan's texting me about fantasy football. Wrestling practice is the hardest practice I've ever been a part of. I've tried basketball, soccer, rugby. I haven't tried hockey because I wasn't ever played hockey. I like to ice skate. I don't know. I sat in on a tennis, squash. Nothing compares to wrestling. I assume swimming would be comparable because it's just so fucking hard. And it's a bunch of weird muscles that you don't use. Like when you're swimming, your like outer lat is tired. And you're like, what the fuck? Anyway, wrestling practice is really, really hard. On top of that, we would have like weight cutting practice, which is literally you get out of practice, you're all sweaty. You get a meal or whatever. You get back in. It's kind of like The Biggest Loser, actually. That's what it reminded me of. You go back in, you put on a couple of t-shirts, a couple of socks, shorts, sweatpants, a couple of sweatshirts. If you have one of those rubber suits, you always want to have a hoodie. Because you put the hood on and then you draw the drawstrings real tight. So you look like a scuba swimmer. And then you just get on either a treadmill or a bike or an elliptical or something. And you just sort of, you warm up, you go real fast, you do sprints or whatever until you break a sweat. Then once you break the sweat, you slow it way down. You just get on that bike or that treadmill. You just bundle up so you're super warm inside, and you just for 45 minutes to an hour, and you just sweat as much as you can. That's the goal of this type of workout. Does it make you stronger? No. Does it make you happier? No. Does it do anything at all other than get excess liquid out of your body? The only other thing it does is it probably makes you a little bonkers crazy. It sucks. It's monotonous. It's boring. So anyway, I remember being on those treadmills in the winter practice, in the dead of winter, freezing outside. I'm bundled up as much as I can, trying to be as warm as I can in my little, Eskimo suit. I don't know. Is Eskimo still Is Eskimo like a racist term now? I'm not sure. If it is, I apologize. I'm going to plead ignorance on that one. Yeah, so I'm in the middle of Connecticut in dead of winter, January, trying to sweat as much as I can. And what's on TV? Like, best case scenario, it's some crappy ESPN show where they just sports shout at each other. Sports shouting. Worst case scenario, it's like not even Price is Right. It's whatever crappy show Wayne Brady was on, where it's essentially the same thing. You have to guess the price of grocery store items, and then Wayne Brady gives you money. I just remember this like hellish experience being like cinched hood, hands in my hoodie middle kangaroo pocket pouch, legs churning on this treadmill. My legs feel like wet stacks of newspaper, just like trying to get through this practice so I can go home, shower for the second time before 2:00, so then I can get back to my third practice of the day. Yeah, that was not fun. Now, I say that and I complain about that horribly, because that was a low point for me. I talk about this quite a bit, or I think about this quite a bit. What's really funny to me is in my college weight room, we had this beautiful gym. Well, it wasn't beautiful. It was fucking huge. a lot of concrete everywhere. You know what I mean? Like typical college, beautiful gym. Our weight room was beautiful. It was huge. It was an open atrium. It was 2 levels. They had a bunch of Olympic lifting platforms. They had some really nice, like a really great 2 full sets of dumbbells, a bunch of barbell sets. They had like a really nice stretching area that sort of looked out over the thing. They also had a line of where all the cardio machines were, ellipticals and treadmills and bikes and shit like that. That's the stuff I'm talking about. It was up in an upper platform and it looked out over the rest of the weight room, so it was cool. But I remember when I wouldn't have to do that off season or whatever, and I'm just going in doing curls because I want to like curls for the girls, tries for the guys, delts for the belts. I I remember thinking to myself, man, thank God I'm like lifting weights, feeling strong, eating a pleasant amount of food, sufficient amount of food. I have energy for this workout. This is great. I remember when I would be up on those ellipticals, not eating anything and wanting to die. And then I look up and thank God that's over. And then I look up and it's just every single machine is taken up by a very pretty blonde girl, brunette girl, whatever, girls. In my mind, everyone I went to college with was blonde with blue eyes just because predominantly they were. But it's just, just a line of pretty girls just, doing exactly what I was complaining about. Doing to a T what I was complaining about. Not eating, doing a boring sort of long, monotonous cardio workout. Like everything that I was like, man, woe is me. Like they're just doing it not because they had a sport to compete in, but because socially they had to. Here's what I'm laughing at. What a fucking meatball I am. Then I'm like, this sucks. Why would anyone do this? And then these fucking girls are doing it by choice, air quotes, because of societal pressures. And then here's fucking meatball Max being like, it's so stupid. Why would anyone do that? Anyway, that was one of those like, maybe I should just shut the fuck up. I've had a few of those moments, but I always appreciate them very, very much. For the record, as a girl, if you want to look hot, in my opinion, lift heavy weights. Don't worry about getting too bulky, because trust me, it doesn't happen that fast. And it's not listen to our podcast, the Total Fit Heads podcast. That's one of the major things we try to debunk. It's just like, the body that you want. I don't think it's typically because you're on a very fast walking pace for hours and hours and hours. Typically, I don't know. I'm sure other people have other body preferences or whatever. But in my experience, the girls that I know who work out a ton, all of them say that their life changed when they started like doing heavy squats, fucking doing shoulder workout, doing back stuff. Like when they started lifting heavy, then they say that their life changed. So I guess what I'm saying is don't be afraid to try something new in the gym or in the bedroom. Obviously, that's my life motto. Okay, what are we talking about today? We actually had a bunch of interesting questions from the last episode, so I wanted to delve into those. Oh, if you have an interesting question, write it in the comments below. That's why I was saying this beforehand. Just because you wrote what you were eating doesn't mean, and don't edit the comment, just go back and write it again. Rack up the comments on the videos, rack up the integration. No, the interactions between you and me helps the videos, helps the channel. Your other part of homework is to go home and tell someone about this channel and get them to subscribe to the channel and watch the videos and have a half hour of chill out. I did a 10-minute of chill out this morning. I've talked about this before. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hard months of meditation. And I felt like it was kind of helping, but not crazy help. And then this month, I've sort of stopped. I started it up again today. Oh boy, was it brutal, difficult. I mean, my ability to stop and focus for 10 minutes, to put down my phone for 10 minutes, to try to focus on my breathing or like control my thoughts or be aware of my thoughts, not control them, but just be aware of my thoughts. 10 minutes, brutal. It was one of those like, oh man, it was a rough awakening. It was like, it was like exercising after you've been in bed for 8 months, I guess, or 10 months. I don't know. Like it was a lot harder than I thought. It's which probably means that I should just get back into doing it, but that's fine. Okay. So speaking of, the reason I brought that up, question number 1, I never know if I want to name names or not. So maybe in your comments below, say like, it's fine if you want to name me by name. Obviously it's on a public forum or whatever. So I don't know. But anyway, the person viewing last week's video, winding down and going to sleep, trying to get my mind off all of this shit show of a day. Man, oh man. Lately, I've been very interested in sleep. First of all, you said a mouthful. First of all, zeroed of all. Let me back up for a second. Let me back up even more. I really hope you can't see below the screen because I'm not wearing any pants. My fucking dick's just hanging out. Anyway, when I used to work at when I used to have my office job, I would share a cubicle area with a guy, my suite mate, I guess. And we would sit back to back, just because the way the thing was set up. It was like we shared a cubicle, but it was huge. The cubicle was like as big as this room, so whatever. But he would wear these glasses just like this, and if I would say something sort of, I'd be typing on my computer. We'd sit back to back. I'd say something over my shoulder, hey, do you have the report on Chauncey Street? And he'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll email it to you. Done. But sometimes if I had a more involved question, I'd turn around and I'd say like, Peter, what do you think like, or I shouldn't say his real name. Hey, what do you think the odds are of us getting this marina license? And he'd turn around and he had these glasses. This was like the highlight of my day. It's one of my favorite things in the world. He had these glasses they had a loop around the back so that you could put them down and like hang on your chest area. But more than that, they had a magnet in the middle. And so he'd turn around, he'd think for a second, and he'd unclick his glasses like this, and then he'd take them down and he'd click them down so they could just hang. And he'd be like, wow, you really said a mouthful there. well, let's unpack it. And it was, I just remember like, it was one of the most comforting things in the world. I know this makes no fucking sense at all. I don't care. It was one of the most comforting things in the world that he's listening to what you're saying. He's thinking about what you're saying. And he's like, well, that's a tough one. That's a tough problem. Let's unpack it. Let's work through it. And and we would sit there and we'd have like a pretty in-depth conversation for 5 or 10 minutes or whatever about the question that I just asked. And I just remember thinking like, man, talk about like a lucky Max for getting such a cool guy to like work with and be in close proximity with. And we worked on a bunch of projects together, and he was so like, I don't know, like smart, but also kind, I guess. Anyway, so now I do that a lot. I say those two things a lot. You just said a mouthful, and let's unpack that. Mainly because of him, and mainly because I wanted to give that impression that that's how I feel, and that's a nice way to say that, I guess, or signify that. And two, because it reminds me of him, and it sort of makes me feel like a little bit of warmth. Peter, the guy was like putting on a warm sweatshirt. You know what I mean? That was like his personality, just so nice. Anyway, winding down, going to sleep, trying to get my shit show over there. That's the trick, isn't it? We had a sleep specialist. This is actually something I think I'm going to be very interested in, and I'm going to this is a tease for my main channel, but I think I'm going to be doing a video on sleep and how to get sleep and what you need and blah, blah, blah. I think sleep is one of the most underrated, underappreciated parts of our fitness, our mental health, our ability to get through a day, the people that sleep really well, listen to them talk. They're like up at 7 on their own just because they're so excited to start the day. They have energy all day. They can like focus on shit. They don't get that weird rundown like, I feel like shit, I better just eat like a handful of Pringles. You know what I mean? I think the things that I've been working on that have helped me immensely. One, not looking at my phone, like really not only not looking at my phone before I go to bed, because I used to look at my phone all day, brush my teeth while looking at my phone, get into bed, my phone's 2 inches from my fucking face. When I feel myself drooping, I like put the phone down, best case scenario. Worst case scenario, I fall asleep, bam, my phone crashes me in the face because I'm literally just phone. And then I wake up, grab my phone, and I in my mind say like, I'm just going to check my email, see if there's anything I need to take care of today. But in reality, I go on Twitter, I see some sort of a political news. I want to, jump off a bridge because I'm so depressed about the state of politics in the United States. That's not healthy. That's not helped me be happy or focused or get through my day. So what's helping me lately, and I've only tried this for last week, but I can already tell it's like, skyrocketed me. Not only not look at my phone for like a half hour before bed, literally put my phone in another room. That's a big, big thing. Because I know that I don't have the self-control. If my phone's next to me, I know that I don't have the self-control not to look at it. It's just life. The Social Dilemma, I just watched that special on Netflix. Highly recommend it. Those 3 guys, such creeps. Not going to sleep. Or I'm sorry, not looking at your phone before you go to sleep, going to sleep at a semi-regular time. Now, unfortunately for me, that semi-regular time is between 1 and 2 a.m. Perfect world, I'd love it to be midnight, I generally wake up by myself around 8 hours after I go to bed, no matter what. Like poor Brittany, we go to bed at midnight, she wakes up at 10. We go to bed at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., she wakes up at 10. It's not... Me, I'm like midnight, 8 a.m., 1 a.m., 9 a.m. You know what I mean? It's my circadian. I don't know if it's circadian. It's my my internal rhythm, my internal clock, whatever you want to call it. It is circadian rhythm. Am I crazy? No. Let me know in the comments. The big thing for me that I'm interested in is temperature. I really, really think that I sleep hot. I sleep too hot. I I think that if I could regulate my temperature a little bit more while I'm sleeping, I would feel a lot better. I used to fall asleep, stay dead asleep, wake up, not even dream, just done. Past like year or so, and I wonder if it's stress, I wonder if it's anxiety, I wonder if it's, I don't know, lack of being hammered drunk all the time. Falling asleep and staying asleep falling asleep has been fine. Staying asleep has not been that great for me. I wake up in the middle of the night, usually from a bad dream, or not even a bad dream, just like a vivid dream. And then I have trouble going back to sleep. It's weird. This is something I really want to focus on. That's my next sort of mini goal. So what do you do to unwind? Also, I really like reading a physical book. I think that has helped me a lot. It's definitely like, it lets me zone in on something. It lets me sort of slowly unwind a little bit more. Not an audiobook. I don't think audiobooks are very good. And what I do is I visualize something very, very specific. Usually, it used to be I would visualize myself doing something fantastic. So flying, for example, that's one I normally do all the time, and it really, really helps. And I go back to one of my old places where I used to live, right on the beach, and I can see it in my mind. I walk out onto my porch, I look at my hands, and then I like look up and I feel myself rising, and then I feel myself like it is first person view, so I see myself, or I see the ground, sort of myself rising from the ground, and then I start flying down above the highway, and that really, really helps. Focusing on every specific detail helps quite a bit. Lately, my new thing I've been doing is trying to explain. I mean, I hate to sound like a fucking meathead jock, even more than I am sure I already do, but I envision myself doing a wrestling move that I know that is very complicated. I would say it's probably 25 or 30 steps, but that's why I chose it, because I basically get about a third of the way through, and then I fall asleep because it's so complicated. And I visualize myself, which I've done this before. I'm going into a practice and teaching this move to someone else. I actually go back to my high school and teach a bunch of high school kids. I do a bunch of clinics. Like, teaching something is very important. It means you know it inside out, which I do. But this move is like 25 or 30 steps, so that's why it's a nice one. But winding down and falling asleep, that's the trick. If we could figure that one out, we'd be in business. I think I have something good coming, so just stay tuned on the main channel. Did you ever hook up with any of your tenants? My first apartment I had on my own. I ended up hooking up with the landlord. It was pretty fun. Whoa, you little devil. No, I didn't hook up with any of my tenants, unfortunately. I had a fair mix. I wouldn't say it was like a bunch of hot babes. I wasn't like a sorority house landlord. I had a relatively, what I would say is an even population breakdown. I had some old ladies. I had some hot girls. I had some college dudes. You know what I mean? I had some families. Obviously, different buildings sort of. Different buildings had a different, like the building next to the college. Yeah, it was a bunch of college students. Unfortunately, it was a nicer building, so it was a bunch of graduate students, a bunch of fucking nerds. The best part about that, actually, this is a good story. We had a building that was right next to Harvard Law School, Harvard, and so one year. You sign your lease in September, and it's a year lease typically. And then what we would do is in June-ish, a lot of kids would would want to go back home for the summer because they didn't live in Cambridge or Boston. They just went to school there. And so then they would sublet. And so then we would say, if we can help you sublet, we're happy to help you because we want to make sure essentially that we get paid the rent. Because if you can't find a sublet, sometimes you miss a month. We don't really want to evict someone over a missed month. It's not really worth it to us to take someone to court for 1 month's worth of rent. You know what I mean? But still, anyway. So we would sort of send out these notices and say, like, look, if you're subletting, let us know. If you want to renew for the next year, you want to stay in the apartment, let us know. We'll just sign you to another lease. Right now, it's easy for us. 1 year, a couple, and different buildings would say different things. And 1 year, a couple of students in this building, this Harvard Law School building, were real sort of tough. They were like negotiating pretty tough on the rent, because we would say, typically we raise it with inflation, 5%, 10%. Obviously we want to get market value. Like if you want to stay the same rent and somebody else wants to pay twice as much, we're sorry, no hard feelings, but get the fuck out. And so 1 year we're doing those, and like one building is like really bullshit on negotiation for their rental renewal. And I'm like, man, this is brutal. This used to take up like 10 minutes of my day. Now it's taking up like 2 weeks of my time. It's ridiculous. So what happened was, a friend of mine who was in the law school, I told him that sort of anecdote. He was like, how's work going? I'm like, it's kind of sucks. Like all these little pricks are fucking negotiating their balls off, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, I bet they're all 1Ls. And what happened was, there was a course, I'm not sure what it was called, but it was essentially like an intro to lawyer thinking course. This is how you assess a problem. This is how you do research. This is how you negotiate. And one of the assignments was negotiate something in your daily life. So, and the easiest thing to negotiate was your rent. And so he was like, yeah, I bet they got the same assignment I did, which was negotiate something in your daily life. And they just decided, because there's this whole building of law students, they're all going to, negotiate with you. And I was like, wow, that sucks, but good to know. Thank you. So the following year, this is how fucking smart I am. This is a smart move on my part. This course is offered in the spring semester of law school. So the following year, we sent out renewal notices on January 1st. Like, fuck you. And they were like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like, I just moved in 3 months ago. Like, why are you giving me a renewal notice? And we were like, look, no pressure, no hard feelings. We've had this building for a while. We know a lot of people are in law school and like want to just lock down an apartment for the next couple of years or whatever, or the following year. If you want to renew, great. Let's sign it. Let's get it done. If you don't want to renew, no hard feelings whatsoever. Like, no problem. But we're going to, just a heads up, once the season rolls around, we're going to be showing your place to potential new tenants. And we got like a ton of people to re-sign. And we only did that fucking building. Just the Harvard law students. And so we got a ton of them to renew. Because they were like, you know what? I do like the place. It's a good apartment. I like living here. Law school's tough enough that I don't want to fucking deal with this. I'm just going to, lock in. Now I have my place that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to worry about my place anymore for the next year. And then, so we got a ton of people to renew. And then, whatever it was, March or April rolls around, and I get a ton of calls that are like, hey, I need to renegotiate my rent. And I was like, ooh, I would. But you just signed the thing in January that said we were locked in. So maybe next year, dude. Maybe next year, bro. Also, go fuck yourself. That was a smooth move. I was very psyched about that one. Let's see how we're doing for time. Oh, we're cooking. And then the last thing I want to leave you with, and this is pretty important. My Boston accent's coming out wicked hard. I've been watching City on a Hill, and it's just Boston. So anyway. I didn't even talk about my fucking shirt. That was the whole point of wearing this shirt. All right, next time, remind me. Block Island. That's the tease for next time. The life hack for the last sleeping life hack that I will leave you with: wash your pillowcases early and often. I would say wash them every time you do a load of laundry. Even more so, sometimes what I did for a while is I would put a clean t-shirt or towel down on top of my pillowcase. The reason being is your face is fucking gross. A lot of oil, a lot of sweat, a lot of gunk. And you put your face on your pillow. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but typically you put your face on your pillow and it gets dirty as fuck. And the new pillowcase smells good, feels good, lets you fall asleep better, and it apparently is way, way better for your skin. The other option is just grow a huge beard and have a pillow on your face at all times. That's going to do it for this episode of The Max Bang. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing. I hope you had a great week. I'm real excited for the weekend, although what are weekends anymore? COVID style. Let me know if you have a semi-serious question. Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, keep banging.